previews the matchup with Utah State, and answers your questions using the hashtag Satake Show. Watch BYU football with Kalani Satake tomorrow at 8 Eastern on BYU TV.
Everybody enjoys a little prank from time to time. Add a little magic to the prank, and things get even more interesting.
What? That is insane.
This season, I'm teaming up with families to prank siblings, friends, parents, and their kids.
What?
You're on TV right now.
I'm Eric LeClaire, and it's time for a little mischief.
This is why you brought me here?
Catch the all-new season on BYU TV, premiering Monday night, October 8th. Don't miss it.
I feel like we're home right here.
You're watching BYU TV on KBYU DT Provo, Salt Lake City.
Good Monday, Cougar Nation. Welcome back inside the Coordinator's Corner, brought to you by JCW's The Burger Boys. BYU has ended the month of September with a 3-2 record, splitting its 4-game P5 slate after a 35-7 setback this past Saturday in Seattle. And we're discussing that and looking ahead today with Special Teams Coordinator Ed Lamb and Defensive Coordinator Elisa Tuiaki. Coach Lamb here in Studio 2 for our first half hour, and then Coach Tuiaki coming in for the final 30 minutes. Great to have you joining us today live on BYU TV, BYU Radio, Sirius XM 143, and now also on 107.9 FM in northern Utah, plus the BYU Football Facebook Live page along with ESPN 960 AM. We are also live online and on the BYU TV and BYU Radio apps, both live and on demand. And we invite you, as always, to be a part of today's show on Twitter with questions for the coaches using hashtag CCBYU or via comments on the BYU Football Facebook Live page. We begin today with BYU's Special Teams Coordinator, Linebackers coach, and Assistant Head Coach Ed Lamb. Coach Lamb, good to see you again. It was a rough weekend in Seattle, admittedly. You've had a few hours to maybe decompress and reconsider it. What are you left with after Saturday night in Seattle?
Coming out of the game, my initial impression was that we weren't ready mentally to have our best game and coach our best game, and we needed to against a really, really strong Washington team that either they played their best or we made them look like they played their best. But they were incredibly sharp and fast and powerful. I thought they really blocked well on the edges, and I thought they played really stout on defense. And frankly, when we needed our best game, I don't think we were prepared to coach or play our best.
Looking back on it, could you have seen any warning signs going in that you were bound to have that kind of performance?
I think Coach Satake did a good job all week of emphasizing, the way he phrased it was doing common things in an uncommon way. But the point of emphasis or the meaning behind that was to do little things right, and not just in football, but in life with studies or the way that you keep your locker clean or your locker room clean. How often you're staying in touch with your family. And what he felt like was that this potentially could be a game where we had a lot of pressure as coaches and players. And he felt like, focusing on other areas of life and the details within the game of football would help us, and not to over-consider the magnitude of the game and the opportunity we had to play in a primetime game with two ranked opponents. And in the end, I thought Washington was just more ready to answer that challenge.
And on that note, do you ultimately just have to pay a tremendous amount of Washington for playing the way they did on Saturday night?
Absolutely, yeah. They're just the nuts and bolts of it. The truth of it is they're more used to playing in that environment, and they were at home, and those were big challenges for us. I would like to play the game again. Sometimes after losing soundly, you don't want to play that opponent again. I would like for our guys to get the opportunity again, now that they know what it felt like, where it was, the overall feel of the stadium, the game, the magnitude, the preparation week. If we could do it all over again, I know we'd play and coach much better.
Did any facet of the game or anyone responsible for the particular facets of the game feel that things went the way they would have hoped or expected, or does everyone basically take an equal amount of accountability or responsibility in this one?
I think guys normally do. It's hard to peer inside the soul of a young guy or any guy for that matter. But, I just know that amongst the coaching staff, it's always – you hear comments after the game like, we could have done better at this or that, and guys are usually putting on themselves and their position and how they could have played better. But those comments to me are usually kind of shocking. Like, oh, really? I thought my position group played most poorly, or I coached most poorly is usually the impression that I have. I think coaches are like that. I think players are like that. We spend too much time together and have too much belief in each other to start pointing fingers.
There was a natural Wisconsin-Washington comparison going in because the general nature of the challenge was kind of similar. A ranked team on the road, great home field, all these things. And so it might have been reasonable to hope for a similar outcome. But the specifics, I think, were a little different. Washington wasn't Wisconsin. Where were they different that actually ended up dictating a lot of what happened on Saturday?
I don't want to take anything away from Washington's physicality because they do have some very physical players. Like I said, I think they blocked really well on the edge. I thought they had an aggressive pass protection scheme that kept us off guard, and we weren't able to get as much pressure as we wanted to. I thought they blocked their edges really well. Number 88, in particular, at the tight end position, did a great job blocking our perimeter. And they have such deep ball threats that I think we were overly concerned as a coaching side. I'm the one who takes kind of the first look at the opponent's passing game and tries to make sure that the coverage recommendations for Coach Tuiaki are sound and going to keep us from getting beaten over the top. And I thought looking back on it in the game that Washington was certainly more capable over the top than Wisconsin. But I should have given our defensive backs and corners more credit, and we should have challenged and locked up more often and put more guys at the point of attack and stopped the run. We didn't do that, and started to do that a little bit more in the second half, but also a lot of the momentum of the game was gone at that point, and Washington would have been happy to go 3 and out and punt with running the clock. We didn't always get them to do that, but it changes the dynamic of the game significantly when you're down by that much.
Relative to stopping the run, it appeared that there were at least some variations defensively, particularly on the front, to pay a little more attention to that, a little more heavy to start, and there were some changes made that way.
There were, yeah. We had a lot of different personnel packages going in, and some different ways that we thought that we could be more stout against the run, and then also stay over the top in the passing game. It didn't work out the way that we wanted, and have to give Washington credit on that.
To your areas of responsibility, we'll start with special teams. There was a missed field goal from Skyler, one kickoff return. I think BYU had 11 for maybe 16 yards. There was a 16-yard punt return against us. 2 field goals were missed by Washington. BYU's punt game saw a 3 of 6 efficiency day, so a little less than normal there. And then there was a recovered punt muff. When you take a look at the overall totality of the special teams performance, where do you come?
Yeah, I think you just said some of the key things. We missed an opportunity there to get on the board early, and that didn't help with the momentum and overall feel of the game. Didn't pay off on that drive there that we had into their territory. Skyler knew right away. He just had picked up his head and looked for the result too quickly instead of just keeping his head down and following through. Our punting game was overall just not up to our standards. We didn't change field position with our punting game. We're deficient in that area. Had some tough, 2 of our best coverage guys over the past 3 years have been Diane and Zane, and we're missing both of those guys. And so we didn't get down the field quite as fast as we have been, and we didn't provide enough hang time for the coverage guys that were in there, who were working hard and are good. We just need to, get more on the same page. And then, I thought maybe overall just that big play down the stretch of getting the ball on the ground. Danny Jones punted a sidewinding left-footed punt, and those are tough to field. It was kind of a helicopter whirl, and that's a common kick in the Aussie league, and so he put that spin on it and it bounced right into Mitch Harris's hands. So he'd done a great job all night of getting down the field and being productive in the special teams game.
That punt muff recovery came on, obviously, a decision late in the game, down 35-zip, 2 punt from fourth, and BYU scores this 1 touchdown on the ensuing recovery, of course. What went into the decision there at that stage of the game to just kick it away?
Well, no decision. I mean, in that situation right there, I mean, mathematically, the game has been lost. Or a better way to say it is, offensively or as a team, you need to earn the opportunity to be aggressive. We hadn't earned the opportunity with our offense, defense, or special teams at that point to be taking aggressive risks. If we had come up short there on fourth down, put our defense in a bad field position again, that's not the kind of thing that 2 or 3 weeks from now that anybody's considering giving up 42 instead of 35. And people say, well, just why not be aggressive? You've already lost. Aggressive is not just throwing away all of the analytics from the game. The analytics in the game were we were not able to score and sustain drives. We were not able to stop them consistently on a short field on defense. And so by what rationale would you even consider going for it in that situation on your own end?
So it wasn't earned, as you just
Not
put
earned.
it. Yeah.
Not earned.
Heading into a break on the Coordinator's Corner. When we come back, more from Special Teams Coordinator Ed Lamb and your questions from social media using hashtag #CCBYU on Twitter. Back with more right after this.
Call it a path. Or a way through. It can be arrow straight or have twists and turns. It's life's financial journey, and Mountain America Credit Union is here to guide you every step of the way. With timely advice and affordable products, this is your journey. Let's begin together. We're Mountain America, guiding you forward.
Bro, I ain't got no chill.
The BYU TV Sports Countdown to Kickoff. BYU versus Utah State, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, Friday on BYU TV.
Tomorrow on BYU Football with Kalani Sitake, the coach recaps the Washington game, previews the matchup with Utah State, and answers your questions using the hashtag Sitake Show. Watch BYU Football with Kalani Sitake tomorrow at 8 Eastern on BYU TV.
Viewers can get involved by going to randomaxtv.com and nominating either people who need help in their lives or people who are a force of good in their community and just need a step up or something like that, or the recognition that they are a good person. Sometimes that's all you really need is that recognition that you're a good person. You're a good person. Sorry, I just wanted to give you that recognition.
Don't miss Random Acts tomorrow at 7 Mountain on BYU TV.
Yo, man, I'm about to get country over here.
I thought you said it was like a masterpiece.
The scorpion stung me.
It's like a masterpiece in the sense that it's not one.
The poison. You're already dying. Oh,
yeah. 2 for 1 salad bar, baby.
Woo!
Sir, I don't think this is going to work.
Writers have to have a thick skin.
Yes, I see you wrote that on page 20.
Maybe try less bad cop, more good cop.
Don't miss Studio C tonight at 7 Mountain on BYU TV.
Dinner after the game at JCW's includes something for everybody, from burgers to wings, shakes to salads. JCW's, quality and a lot of it in Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, and coming soon to Harriman. BYU now 3-2, getting ready for Utah State. And we are visiting with Special Teams Coordinator Ed Lamb on the Coordinator's Corner. Your position group is linebackers. No Zane. Anderson once again. Butch did get back. And Sione started, of course, and may have left the game toward the latter stages. Did he get back in eventually, or did he finish on the sideline? Do you remember?
He didn't, but he was perfectly capable of coming back in. But at that time, we were trying to get some guys some playing time and some experience, which we hope will pay off in future games this season and in future seasons.
Okay, so good to get Butch back, of course, but your trio hasn't been together as a trio for a few weeks now. And, of course, we hope that Zane is able to make a return. Is there a consideration at some point, once we get a few games in, of saying he's only played X number of games, we can get a year back on that, or how do you look at that?
Absolutely, yeah, and he's still under that mark, and so at this point, it's not a consideration we need to make right now. He'll be back and giving it a go this week, so excited about that for Zane. And Butch is back, which is great for our team and the leadership that he brings. And he's not up to full speed. He didn't play to his potential. But it's all at this point. It's just all with that hand and what he's working through there. Really toughed it out. Played a tough physical game like he always does. But hopefully we'll get all the guys back to full speed soon.
So as of this week, maybe looking into Friday, there's a good chance you could see Zane, Butch, and Sione back together at linebacker starting.
Yes.
Yeah,
very much. And that's always the hope, to have all the guys back and competing during the week of practice for the starting positions, and then putting the best guys out there. And certainly those three have shown that they're highly capable.
Every team has their own specific challenges relative to health, but it hasn't been the best year that way with injuries. Some important players have missed a lot of time, and as a coach and coaches, it seems like the refrain's pretty similar. Everybody's got to deal with it. There's no sense in bemoaning it. It's next man up, and you just can't spend too much time on it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how much did you and I talk about it after the Wisconsin game? But we had guys out and guys down, Butch being one of them. And so when you're winning, you move on, and coaches would like if everybody would just kind of not bring that up when you're losing, because it's really, we spend too much time, and the backups are capable, and those backups will be starters. There was a time when Butch was a backup and Zane was a backup, and it's just opportunities for new guys is the way we look at it.
If I could have you take a look at the offensive side for a quick second here as your assistant head coach hat for a moment. Washington is pretty good at letting you complete a few passes, but they really don't let you do anything through the air, over the top primarily. BYU actually had on the day a decent pass efficiency number and completion rate, but really nothing out of it. So Washington's pretty expert that way in terms of what they choose to give you, aren't they?
They are. They keep the ball in front of them, and that's something every defense aspires to do. Is everybody's game plan going into the game really is to do that, and whether you do it in man coverage or zone coverage, but the idea is definitely not to give up big plays, and to keep the ball in front of you and also be as aggressive as possible.
Speaking of big plays, the Cougars have had 58 offensive possessions so far this year, and one explosive drive in the 58, explosive being an average of 10 yards per play in that drive. Clearly, chunk plays are always going to be a consideration, something you want more of. You want to prevent against that, which BYU has generally done pretty well. But in relative to the explosive nature of the offense, where is BYU in terms of being able to maybe turn a corner? Does it come with the schedule getting a little less stringent maybe? Or?
I think the opponent always has something to say about how explosive you are. Mm-hmm. We've played some really stout defenses, and in Cal and Wisconsin, and I think McNeese State were really, really solid on defense. Arizona had some great athletes, which can be tough to get out big plays. So I think that's part of it. But I also think with a new offense, it takes time to find. For the coaches to find the right playmakers to emphasize where the ball is going to go, and it also takes time for the players to find the exact right timing, or I should say not find the timing, but to get better and better at the timing of what they're doing. So I have a high level of confidence in our offensive players and our offensive coaches, the way that they work and prepare. It's highly detailed, and there's some complication in there too. And so I think as the season goes along, regardless of who we play, we'll continue to get better.
Too bad that BYU does lose one of its prime playmakers in Moronala Ulu-Pututau. Had to miss all of last year, and now he goes out early this year. That's too bad.
Yeah, that's a really a tough break for him, and for us as a team. He's really productive in what he does. Almost any given week, you'll hear the opposing coach talk about him and what a dangerous matchup he is for anybody. And so, yeah, it's something we'll have to overcome.
Of course, there are players to do it, and having someone like Matt Bushman and Dallin Holker right there is a positive. I noticed that Hank Tuipulotu got on the roster this past weekend. Does that mean that he's maybe ready to go here? Good to go? He
is. He's done a great job. He's gotten significantly bigger and faster just with his strength training here, just in the time he's been here since July. And so not only has he changed, but I think he's also more ready to play, and maybe the opportunity's there. So he's done a really good job on the scout unit against our defense, and we feel really good about him.
It's very intuitive, of course. Every coach would like to score early and often in every game, and they prepare to score and score touchdowns on first possessions. But first quarters have been a bit of a challenge for BYU this year. Ed, 7 points in the 5 games in the opening quarter, and they came in the Tucson game. Is there anything you see that has a remedy relative to the starts for BYU right now?
I think part of that is just the collective, cumulative experience of our team right now and where we're at mentally, and I think I think that a lot of times over the past 18 months, 2 years, whatever, we've just played a lot of close games, and we lost a lot of games last year, and so I think going into games, there's just kind of we're going in a little bit timid and a little bit nervous, and we're kind of playing our way into games. the positive side over a long period of time is BYU has guys that fight, and so we will be in the game. We will hang in the game. We will play as hard as we can, and if we get the breaks and our coach well enough on that given day, I think we can beat anybody. But winning begets more winning and begets more confidence. There are new challenges that come with winning, and we're working through some of those right now. But we're somewhere in the middle of being a team without a lot of true confidence that can start fast and aggressive, and being a team that really expects to be one of the best teams in the country.
Hopefully being back at home will aid that confidence. For the entire month of October, BYU will not have an away game, so that's a good thing for the Cougs coming up. And coming up next, more with BYU Special Teams Coordinator, Linebackers Coach, and Assistant Head Coach Ed Lamb. And your questions for Coach Lamb. Send them in using hashtag #CCBYU on Twitter. This is the Coordinator's Corner, brought to you by JCW's The Burger Boys. Back with more right after this.
AAA agents like Leticia are popping up where people are having doubts about insurance, like when it comes time to buy a car.
So how can I help you today?
What if I decide to become a rideshare driver?
If you want to outsmart insurance doubt, visit a AAA branch.
We're changing how you receive health care to give you more choices, to be more personal, like seeing a doctor from your hotel room rather than a patient room, or seeing your primary care physician when you normally couldn't. It's putting you first and also putting you more in control. It's care how, where, and when you want it. Intermountain Healthcare. Visit healingforlife.com.
AAA agents like Octavia are popping up where people are having doubts about insurance, like here, where Makai is learning to drive.
What brings you in today?
When I get my car, can my friends drive it as well?
If you want to outsmart insurance doubt, visit a AAA branch.
Hi there, how are you? My name's Todd. Nice to meet you. Can we put you on our TV show for a second?
If any lesson can be learned from the story track,
I felt misunderstood. I felt like there was no one in the world who was going through that thing.
I hope people will understand that they're special.
I'm a believer.
They're important.
I'm a believer.
That guy right there saved my life.
They have a compelling story. They are worth getting to know.
Watch the story track tomorrow at 8 Mountain on BYU TV.
Great entertainment is coming your way on BYU TV. Tonight at 7 Mountain, it's all new sketches full of all new energy with the Studio C cast. Relax with the family and unload the laughter. Then, Eric Dowdle is an amazing artist that adds true character to his paintings. Travel along as Eric discovers the heart of interesting places in painting the town. Tomorrow at 8:30 Mountain. Watch your favorite BYU TV shows here and catch up anytime on BYUtv.org or the BYU TV app.
And you are in the Coordinator's Corner, brought to you by JCW's The Burger Boys. BYU and Utah State coming up Friday night at Wrubell Edwards Stadium. It's been 44 years since the Ags last beat BYU in consecutive years. They'll be trying to do that on Friday. BYU will be out in turn to beat Utah State for a 32nd time in the last 38 meetings. Looking ahead to Utah State with Coach Ed Lamb. And from social media, from Jeremy Slater on Facebook, right about that topic. He says, how ready will the Cougs be for an Aggies team that is averaging almost 50 points per game? And I'll amend that by saying they're averaging 51.5 points per game right now. Then they haven't played your schedule. The schedules don't compare right now between you and the Aggies yet. They have a confidence that comes with scoring a ton of points.
So the question was, how ready?
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
We will be ready. Bank on it.
Eric Nielsen on Facebook. Why do you think there were so many penalties in this past game where the other games were relatively more penalty-free?
Well, I think I alluded to it earlier, but players, if players don't play well, coaches don't coach well, and I think going into that game, not just offensively. I know more of the penalties were on offense, and typically that's going to be the case. But I think we were not prepared to coach and play our best game, just mentally. I feel like overall, I know I'm speaking for Coach Grimes and the offensive staff here, but I just feel like we had a better team than we showed, and we have better coaches than we showed, and we've got a better program than we showed, and so I think we all share in the blame on that.
Cal represented kind of a reset that way, and it feels like a similar vibe is coming after Washington. When you guys, you've been together as a team already once this week, haven't you? Was it earlier today that you got together, or have you been together as a team?
Not as a team, just coaching staff.
Okay. Yeah. What do you sense is going to be maybe the adjustment made, if there needs to be one, from that mentality standpoint to get what you want to get out of your guys on Friday night? What's going to have to be different?
Well, I think resolve, to put it in our players' hands. I know certainly defensively we felt like we carried a lot of scheme and tried a lot of different things, and that sometimes works out and sometimes it doesn't. But the thing that I know is that there's such a bad taste in a coach's mouth when there's an overemphasis on coaching and scheme and strategy, and you lose. And it's a great taste in your mouth when you win and you feel like that you contributed to that win somehow. But I would rather have our boys out there playing aggressive man-to-man coverage and challenging the opponent. I'm speaking defensively right now, but I think the theme would translate throughout the team. I think we'd all would rather put the ball in our players' hands. Put the onus on our players to go out, challenge, compete, and then the score be what it may. But after a loss, coaches are particularly hard on themselves. So I know from a coaching standpoint, we're really resolute about doing a great job this week and putting our best foot forward for our players and allowing our players to. And I know that our players always respond well after a loss, and they come back hungry and ready to go.
So overemphasis on the coaching side of it last week as opposed to the player side of it last week?
I think so, yeah. I can speak for 2/3 of our team, and I can make inferences, and just because Coach Grimes isn't here to answer, and so I don't want to answer too much on his behalf. But I just know that over the years and with all coaches and the way I know our offensive coaching staff, if we don't win, there's none of our coaches are sitting there pointing at the film going, man, our players are terrible. We point the finger at ourselves first. And so in whatever way that they would word that, I think I can speak for them and our whole coaching staff and say that we wanted to do things. We wish we had done things differently.
Austin Lee was your team's leading tackler at Washington, and maybe coming into the season he might have been among the players getting the less or the least attention on the defensive side. I think he's played really well this year. How do you view that Austin Lee's contributions have been for the team?
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. He had some injuries that slowed him down last year, and just soft tissue stuff in the hamstrings and things like that, and didn't get him a chance to really roll consecutively on a lot of given weeks and rack up some stats. But he plays so hard and is so physical, and really one of the smartest players on defense. We put a lot on him in terms of communicating with the guys around him, getting us in the right defenses.
We mentioned the injury trouble earlier at linebacker, and other guys have gotten reps. How deep are you now at the linebacker spot, and who's impressed you with players being unavailable for some of these games?
Well, you may have noticed Matt Hadley's back on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, and he was really active, a little more rusty than I think I would have liked. He just had a couple of detailed things. We're getting a little more depth in pass coverage and stuff like that. But that'll come along. He's a very smart player, and put those on me as far as some minor mistakes in the game technically, just a little bit of rust. Isaiah Kalfusi has done a fantastic job just from last year to this year, taking advantage of every opportunity. His production points, we give production points for things like tackles, interceptions, passes broken up, sacks, tackles for loss, etc. He's been one of our most productive defensive players in terms of number of plays that he's played. So points per play. Isaiah Kalfusi's been fantastic. And then Riggs Powell has played a significant role as a backup and plays really hard, has been productive, and just we need to keep getting better as a whole unit. You say, how deep are we? I don't know. Sometimes you don't want to find out that question. You want to play with the guys that are on top of the depth chart, but all I know is I love working with the guys and look forward to every opportunity you can to put 3 guys out there to compete.
And Matt is involved, Hadley that is, with really all 3 phases right now. I still saw him working out with the running backs in the pregame, so he's got the special teams role back on defense and offense. So he's not exactly quite our Taysom Hill yet, but he's certainly he's got a full plate right now.
He does. He's got a full plate, and he's sacrificed a lot for the team. He would have played some significant snaps there the first several games on defense had he not moved to offense, but now he'll be appearing at least in 2 phases on defense and special teams, and I think he always remains a candidate at running back.
Okay, in our final minute, just maybe some specifics, early in the week specifics, about Utah State and where they will expect to challenge you most here on Friday night, from your perspective.
Well, I think if anyone who's studied the schedule sees us coming off, we're coming off of a loss. They're coming off of a win. They're coming off of a bye week. We're coming off of a short week. We've got a Friday night game. They've got a lot of momentum, a lot of belief, and our guys have to regroup very quickly. They are offensively, they are really in tune to what they do, and defensively as well. They've had a carryover on their staff, and so they're running similar systems of offense, defense, and special teams from what we saw last year. We've got to play well on offense, defense, and special teams. This is a real challenge for our team, and yet one that I'm highly confident about.
Every game represents its own character test, if you will, but coming off where you were on Saturday, I really anticipate the challenge and how you guys respond. Best of luck.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, that's Coach Ed Lamb. Coming up after the break, I'll be joined by BYU defensive coordinator and defensive line coach Elisa Tuiaki as the Coordinator's Corner, brought to you by JCW's The Burger Boys, rolls on here on BYU TV and BYU Radio.
In the timeline of life, you make choices every day, like buying your first car, what a beaut, or serving your mission. You come home and hop right into college. And then that magic day comes, marriage. Getting married is incredible and pricey. But you know what? Children are even pricier. Your family grows and you need that first home. No matter where you are in the timeline of life, Deseret First Credit Union is right there with you. DFCU, your values, your timeline, your financial future.
Hey, I'm Dave McCann. Tomorrow on After Further Review, a review of Washington, a preview of Utah State. Best hour, BYU football on TV. Blaine Fowler, David Nixon, and Brian Logan explain the game tomorrow night right here on BYU TV.
I ain't got no chill.
The BYU TV Sports Postgame. BYU versus Utah State. Friday after the game.
Some say if you're looking for the soul of America, you'll find it right here in Memphis, Tennessee. But if Memphis is the soul of America, then what's the soul of Memphis? From the banks of the Mississippi to the neon lights of Beale Street, that soul's hiding somewhere, and I've got to put it all in one painting. Join me as we paint the town of Memphis, Tennessee.
Don't miss Painting the Town tomorrow at 8:30 Mountain on BYU TV.
Hospital. A vow of friendship. A ruthless matron.
Do as we say!
And a self-willed girl with plans of her own.
Don't miss the next episode of Heady Feather, Sunday at 6 Mountain on BYU TV.
Dinner after the game at JCW's includes something for everybody, from burgers to wings, shakes to salads. JCW's, quality and a lot of it in Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, and coming soon to Harriman. Speaking of dinner after the game and game times, BYU and Hawaii, the game time got set for that game on October 13th. It'll be 8:15, the Mountain Time kick at LaVell Edwards Stadium. We are back into the back half of the Coordinator's Corner as we go from special teams to the defense, and that means spending some time with defensive coordinator and D-line coach Elisa Tuiaki. And your questions for Coach Tuiaki can be submitted on Twitter using hashtag #CCBYU or via comments on the BYU Football Facebook Live broadcast of our show. Good to see you again.
Good to be back. Thanks.
First really kind of rough day for the BYU defense, I think, this year. Saturday up at Seattle. But I know you give a lot of credit, of course, to Washington. I thought, from what I'd seen, they played their best game Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, we knew going in that they were a really good team, but I thought that they played cleanly, and they played their best game. We played our worst on defense, and it just happened to be you can't do that against really good teams like that. So
we noticed when the game began, there was going to be some defensive variation in what you wanted to get done. What was the intent of that, and how soon was it when you realized maybe what we thought might happen wasn't going to be happening the way you hoped?
Probably after the first couple of drives, as we looked at things. I mean, there was play number one, actually. We were on the headset, and they busted off a long run. And we put something in that was a little bit more coverage oriented, and as immediately right after they got that run, I was talking to Coach Guilford. I said, hey, that correction, that what we talked about, a couple of days ago, we need to switch that back, and we need to go back. And it was actually my suggestion to switch it to be a little bit more coverage oriented. And it was Coach Guilford's idea to switch it back. And I said, let's just leave it the way that it was. And I mean, just going the first couple of series, we went back, just looked at it. You know what? We just need to do what we need to do. And it wasn't as good of a plan, I think, as we thought. Number one, but number two, I think we took a little bit away from the kids and their ability to play. And so I think there's something to be said about, and a lot of people talk about it all the time. We go through interviews. You guys don't do much. You guys basically don't blitz much. You don't do, and we always play sound because the kids know what they're doing and where they're at. And I think this game was just kind of gives me deeper convictions about just do what you do and do it really well,
So maybe you took a little bit more out of their hands than you would have liked in hindsight?
I think so, yeah. When we look at it and having certain checks and doing certain things and just the communication in the huddle and the way the kids were feeling, I think that it just wasn't it wasn't the best. We didn't just let them go and play, and I think that losing Zane as well as Diane, maybe we might have been trying to protect some guys in coverage a little bit too much, but we went back and looked at it. We were like, man, we recruited these guys for a specific reason. It's the cover and for us to play aggressive, and we got to do that. And hindsight's always 20/20, but they were also really good. I thought that they were a good team, and they did a really good job and protected the quarterback really well and mixed things up as far as just quick game and max protect and all that stuff. And it was a good game plan on their end and not as good on our end.
Diane and Zane are two of your best defensive playmakers. You've been without Zane for a couple of weeks and Diane as well. And you can't just overlook the fact you're missing two top-of-the-depth chart playmakers on D. It sounded from Ed that there's a chance Zane would get back, and I'm not sure about Diane. You never want to focus on who you don't have, but it's a real thing. I mean, you're missing playmakers right now.
Yeah, not having those two, they're such a big part of our defense and what we do. But Coach Ithaka's talked to the team about belief. And really, when we go back and we looked at it yesterday and just said, we need to show more belief in the kids and the players and their abilities, and we didn't do that in this game plan.
Jake Browning had an excellent night. Went 23 of 25 for 277, touchdown. His pass efficiency rating is under 200. Teams don't lose at that number, of course. What most went into Jake having the kind of night he had, do you think?
He's a really good quarterback to start with, but it was they protected him really well, and that was kind of one thing that we talked about just on the headset throughout the night was like we're not getting the pressure that we need when we were sending blitzes, or we got home a couple of times as far as just getting the ball out and getting him to throw checkdowns, but they did a really good job with just some of their concepts and just knowing when to sit down, and the timing was right, as far as the quarterback to the receiver connection, and just they did a really good job with what they were doing.
Where were Wisconsin and Washington most different, do you think? And I posed a similar question to Ed in the first half hour, because people look at the Wisconsin game, will say if you can beat Wisconsin on the road, you may be able to have the same result against Washington on the road. Two really good teams with long non-conference home win streaks and top 15 and all that kind of thing. But where were the two teams tactically different that made the challenge really different for BYU the second time around?
The pass game was definitely different. The pass game was way different. Really, the whole thing is different. Wisconsin's it's just different type of scheme, different type of play. I didn't give Washington as much credit in the run game as I should have, thinking there's certain things that we did that we wanted to protect the pass a little bit more, thinking that we would be able to defend the run with fewer guys in the box, and just going back and looking at it, I think if we would have just played what we do what we do and force them to try to run the ball and stop the run and challenge them a little bit more in the pass, I think that it would have been a better outcome for us on defense. But it's completely different. I mean, they were more running the ball uphill. There wasn't anything downhill like Wisconsin does, and a lot of pin pull schemes, and did a really good job blocking on the perimeter and a lot of RPO stuff. And so it was a lot different as far as scheme, but they just did a really good job, and we didn't do a good job with just preparing the kids and letting them play.
Washington a little more diverse and more edge-oriented perhaps than Wisconsin, which kind of wants to beat you over the head with between the tackle play sometimes.
Yeah, their scheme's different. I mean, they were still very, very complex and a lot of intricate parts of the run game in the box that people don't see and people don't know, and influence blocks and just things that aren't usual that you don't really see nowadays. And so I think that the complexity of both the offenses were really, really, they're both complex, but it was just different. They did a good job running uphill and stretching things and getting out on the perimeter, and we didn't do a good job boxing it.
Down and distance was Washington's friend on Saturday night. They averaged 9.6 yards on first down plays, which is you almost never see that.
Yeah, and when you're losing on first down, then really, really difficult to play, but also call a game on second and third down. So, and I think we've talked about that in the past. It's just you've got to win first down. You got to put yourself in a situation where the offense is a little bit more predictable. But where we as coaches come back and talk about who we are and what we do, stop the run first, right? You got to stop the run and try to get them a little bit more predictable, and we didn't do that at all.
The sack-adjusted rush yardage Saturday was BYU 55 and Washington 200, and that's often telling the tale in a lot of football games. I think it was the way on Saturday night. All right, break time on the Coordinator's Corner. When we come back, we'll have more with defensive coordinator Elisa Tuiaki. You can ask him questions using the hashtag CCBYU on Twitter. Stay with us.
Are you looking for a better way to deliver results this year? Expanding your product line or building new locations? How about your online presence? Does it need a boost? Maybe you just want to put a little more distance between you and the competition. Tap into the powerful engine of BYU Athletics and let us put together a plan unique to your business. We can provide you with the tools designed to enhance your brand on a local, regional, or national level. We invite your team to join ours. For details, email sponsorship@byu.edu today.
Hi there, how are you? My name's Todd. Nice to meet you. How y'all doing? Can we put you on our TV show for a second?
If any lesson can be learned from the story track,
I felt misunderstood. I felt like there was no one in the world who was going through that thing.
I hope people will understand that they're special.
I'm a believer.
They're important.
I'm a believer.
That guy right there saved my life.
They have a compelling story. They are worth getting to know.
Watch the story track tomorrow at 8 Mountain on BYU TV.
Yo, man, I'm about to get cracked for here.
I thought you said it was like a masterpiece.
The scorpion stung me.
It's like a masterpiece in the sense that it's not one.
The poison.
You're already dying.
Oh, yeah.
2 for 1 salad bar, baby.
Woo!
Sir, I don't think this is gonna work.
Writers have to have a thick skin.
Yes, I see you wrote that on page 20.
Maybe try less bad cop, more good cop.
Don't miss Studio C tonight at 7 Mountain on BYU TV. Tomorrow on BYU Football with Kalani Sitake, the coach recaps the Washington game, previews the matchup with Utah State, and answers your questions using the hashtag Sitake Show. Watch BYU Football with Kalani Sitake tomorrow at 8 Eastern on BYU TV.
I ain't got no chill.
The BYU TV Sports Countdown to Kickoff. BYU versus Utah State, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, Friday on BYU TV.
The Coordinator's Corner is brought to you by JCW's The Burger Boys. BYU defensive coordinator and defensive line coach Elisa Tuiaki with me until the top of the hour. 3-2. BYU hosting 3-1 Utah State, one of your former teams for which you've coached. It's kind of the funny game we all play in sports. If somebody told you before the season that fill in the blank, you kind of go from there. If someone had said BYU was going to be 3-2 going into October, knowing what you had in September, I think a lot of folks would have just said, all right, let's go. Now you're there. How do you feel?
It's because of the fast week, because we're playing on Friday and just a short week. I think we've all moved on, as far as coaches. We're ready to go, and we are where we're at. We're 3-2, and an opportunity to win another one here at home, protect Wrubell's house, as well as play an in-state rival, and I think we're ready to move along and go.
Speaking of Lavell's house, repeating our news from earlier in this hour, came out this morning that the BYU-Hawaii game time has been set. It'll be an ESPN2 telecast, and it'll happen at 8:15 on October 13th. So game time set now for BYU and the Bows. It'll be 8:15 with a 6:15 radio pregame on the 13th, but that's the week after Utah State. The Ags are next. They are Friday night. Early look ahead to Utah State. You've already gotten into them, obviously, as you get ready to prep your guys. They're 3-1. They're coming off a bye, and they're scoring almost 52 points a game right now.
Good offense. You know, I think the changes that they've made, you know, and I know Matt. We don't talk as often now that we're kind of doing our own deal. But Matt Wells and I coach together, and you know what he's done as far as just cutting the reins and letting Yost run things. I mean, it's really panned out well for them. I think that they're good on offense. They know who they are, and they really good scheme. You know, they get the ball out quickly, and I think that their skilled kids are really good, and I like their running backs. You got a pair of running backs that are really good, talented kids.
And the running backs, for the most part, are new based on who you saw last year in the game you played. And Jordan Love wasn't the guy yet when you played him last year either.
Yeah, he was in and out, just kind of taking a couple of series here and there. But no, he's a good player. He does a good job.
And the receivers, you know, pretty well, led by Ronquavian Tarver and Dax Raymond, and they use a bunch of guys. So it's a pretty diverse attack right now for them.
Yeah, yep, it is. That's awesome to see. A kid just from Utah just doing so well over there. You know, I'm always rooting for the in-state kids just because I recruit the state of Utah, but it's good to see.
It's a rivalry game, of course, and when you were up there, how did you guys look at BYU on the schedule? How big a deal was it for the Ags up there?
It was. You know, it's you don't really want to talk about how there's kind of a big brother little brother thing there going there, but you know. It had been that way for very many years before we ended up getting our first win in a very long time, and I think that they still see it the same way. You know, we got into a little scuffle before, you know, in pregame. It was just like, I think that those guys are so geeked up for it, and our guys are still kind of looking at him as a little brother, as, you know, getting away. But there's no doubt that those guys have done a really good job, and they deserve all the respect, and they'll get our best shot when we play on Friday.
Okay, just want a couple of leftover notes from Washington before we get fully on. Kairos Tonga had 1.5 tackles for loss at UW. Corb had another sack, and Austin Lee was your team's leading tackler. What's your defensive identity maybe through 5 games? And I mentioned those 3 guys right there. Kairos, Corbin, and Austin have been 3 of your more consistent players, I think it's fair to say, through 5 games. And there are others as well. Who else do you want to pat on the back? And what would you say about those 3?
Those 3 have done a tremendous job. You know, Corbin, we moved around a little bit this game and did a really good job, and we ended up moving him back to end towards the second half. But Corbin plays so hard. I mean, all those guys, all the guys on defense as well as the team, they play so hard, and they want to win so badly. But those guys are difference makers as far as just the way that they play the game and the things that they bring to the table on defense.
No defensive takeaways at Washington. There was the one punt muff that BYU recovered, turned into its touchdown late, and yet with no defensive takeaways, you want to see the offense take care of the ball, and for the most part, doing pretty well. They're tied for 17th right now nationally in fewest giveaways. Of course, the one BYU had on Saturday was pretty big coming when it did. That was tough to see BYU give the ball back at the end of the first half, of course.
Yeah, it was deflating on the sideline, and I still feel like we should have just given up 3 points. We ended up missing a tackle and kind of losing the quarterback on the play that they ran a touchdown in. And I think if we would have got them down, they would have kicked it, and we're getting the ball back down 17-0. But that was deflating.
You're home for the entire month of October now. I mean, you looked at the schedule to realize that you don't leave town again until Boise in the first week of November. So it's 3 home games in 4 weeks with a bye week in October. How integral could this month be to getting done what you want to get done as a team, knowing you're not going to leave home for like 5 or 6 weeks here now?
This would be huge for us. Sometimes getting on the road and playing those late games and getting back at 3, 4, 5 in the morning is really tough when you got to prep the kids and get them back on schedule. And so it'd be huge for us to stay home, to protect the house, as well as get some wins under our belt, get some teams that are coming up.
How much does the short week accelerate your routine? What gets done today that would normally wait a day?
we've got to install today. And so, a lot of the stuff that we did, still, for us on defense, we still like to give the Sabbath to each coach to just, take care of their business. But we are texting and scheming and talking and watching film on our own. And when we come in on Monday, we're basically just laying down our ideas and putting the game plan together and rolling. And so, when the kids come in today for us to meet with them, we'll have a game plan ready and we'll practice it and just iron out the kinks as we go throughout the week. But we've got to be ready today.
First team meeting each week happens with the players. Is it Monday afternoon usually when you're back together as a team for the first time after the Saturday game?
Yep.
And what's most important from that meeting? Win or lose, what's most important from that first get-together on Monday?
Coach Sitake comes in and addresses basically the pulse of the team, and I think that's always good where, he's bringing them back down to reality, whether it's a win or a loss, and talking about the things that are important and talk about the things that are important to the program, our values, our goals, and where we sit as far as being bowl eligible and whether we're, still in the hunt for playing a New Year's Six bowl or whatever our goals are, but just addressing those things and really reassessing where we're at and, getting back on the road to success as far as what we need to do to reach our goals and keeping those values, just talking about them just so we remember what's important and what's not.
Is it a similar vibe and feel when you have the first coaches meeting too on Monday? Or is it different for you guys?
It is because Kalani's really good about that. Kalani's really good. He's, you guys see him on TV. He's passionate. Wears his emotions on his sleeve and does a really good job with just getting the kids going. But when it comes down and it's done, and we've got to talk about things that are in the past, he's really, really good about keeping his emotions out of it and. Just getting us back on track, whether it's the coaches or and he always gives us reminders, especially after losses like this. He was really good about it last year, where he was talking about don't lose your identity, don't lose who you are, don't go home and be mean to your wife just because you're losing. You got to be a good father, you got to be a good husband, and those are the things that matter to him. Always talks about getting sleep. Don't stay up late at night. Get sleep. Make sure you guys are coming back refreshed, giving the kids the best you, and he's always really good about that.
Excellent. Heading to break on the Coordinator's Corner. When we come back, your social media questions using hashtag #CCBYU for Coach Elisa Tuiaki as we continue live on BYU TV, BYU Radio, and ESPN 960. We are back with more right after this.
When my grandfather started this company in 1947, he couldn't have envisioned what we would ultimately become. We realized that our value to our customers is that we will be there day after day, year after year, doing whatever we need to find solutions to the challenges that they face. We are committed to be honestly better in all that we do, in every opportunity that we have to serve our customers.
Everybody enjoys a little prank from time to time. Add a little magic to the prank, and things get even more interesting.
What? That is insane.
This season, I'm teaming up with families to prank siblings, friends, parents, and their kids.
What?
You're on TV right now.
I'm Eric LeClaire, and it's time for a little mischief.
This is why you brought me here?
Catch the all-new season on BYU TV, premiering Monday night, October 8th. Don't miss it.
I ain't got no chill.
The BYU TV Sports Postgame. BYU versus Utah State. Friday, after the game.
Hey, I'm Dave McCann. Tomorrow on After Further Review, a review of Washington, a preview of Utah State. Best hour, BYU football on TV. Blaine Fowler, David Nixon, and Brian Logan explain the game tomorrow night right here on BYU TV.
Viewers can get involved by going to randomaxtv.com and nominating either people who need help in their lives or people who are a force of good in their community and just need a step up or something like that, or the recognition that they are a good person. Sometimes that's all you really need is that recognition that you're a good person. You're a good person. Sorry, I just wanted to give you that recognition.
Don't miss Random Acts tomorrow at 7 Mountain on BYU TV.
Dinner after the game at JCW's includes something for everybody, from burgers to wings, shakes to salads. JCW's, quality and a lot of it in Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, and coming soon to Harriman. Defensive coordinator and defensive line coach Elisa Tuiaki joining us. BYU hosting Utah State in a Friday night special at Wrubell Edwards Stadium coming up this Friday evening. And we talked about the 3-2 and how you're already moving on. We're into October. But from a big picture standpoint, the fact that you are already halfway to bowl eligibility, having coming off a 4-9 year without a postseason, that's an accomplishment, right? I mean, you're through 1 month and you're halfway to one of your goals, and you've got a lot of games left to find, a few more wins to get there. How much is that a focus from this program, week to week, month to month, about just getting back to where you belong and playing in the postseason?
You know, that's something like we talked about that Kalani addresses with the whole team as far as where we're at. You know, our goal for this year was to be bowl eligible, and we're, you know, we'll talk about being halfway there, but a lot of work ahead of us, and you know, but it is something that we talk about. It's not something that we focus about. It's just, you know, brought up, talked about, and then we move on and get ready for the next game.
Okay, to social media now, and you can send a question in for Coach Elisa Tuiaki using the hashtag #CCBYU. This from at YorkSam A84. Through 5 games, he says, BYU has a total of 6 sacks, 4 of which are from Corbin Kofusi. What can the defense do to get more pressure on opposing quarterbacks?
It's a good question. You know, I think we've been asked this question before, and I think the answer is still the same. You know, we can generate some pressure with just different pressures, but also, and I think we just keep doing what we're doing. The plan to win is to win first and second down and get into third downs where we can make the offense a little bit more predictable and get after the quarterback. But you can't pass rush when it's you know, 3rd and 2, or when it's 2nd and 4. It's you've got to put yourself in a situation to pass rush, and you got to earn the right to pass rush. And we're not completely there yet, especially in this last game, and we've got to create more of those situations for us.
We hit it earlier about Washington's down and distance situation, but they gave themselves makeable and manageable situations on third for the most part. They were 9 for 12 on third downs against you, whereas McNeese didn't convert a single third down the week before.
Yeah, you know, I can't think of the distances right off the top of my head, but they did a good job on a couple of the 3rd and longs, actually. I was thinking about whether we pressured or whether we didn't, and it was looking at some of their drop back passes where they just did a really good job throwing it, timing, getting to the sticks, and receiver turn around and catching it right before the cornerback can react. And you know, credit to them to some of the completions that they made, but you know, there's no doubt that we got to create more pressure. But I think the bigger thing is for us to play better situational football.
In terms of overall disruption or havoc rate, how's your defense doing right now in terms of making plays on defense, not just sacks?
We're not where we need to be. We need more big plays. We need more takeaways. You know, I think that every game kind of has its own story, and it's a little bit different. But overall, throughout the season, as we look at it, we have to be better as far as creating more things for us.
They broke a long run Saturday night. Ball gets punched out, and when you went back and looked at it, what did you see there? How did the ball not end up with BYU?
It's just kind of how the night was going, you know. Thought that we would have got that one, and Austin, you know, talking about Austin earlier, he did a really good job just getting down and punching that thing out, but. No, ball just didn't bounce our way that time, and you know, credit them for recovering it. I think it was an offensive lineman that recovered it, and it was down the field. You know, it just shows the type of effort that they played with. Their guys run down to the ball and did a really good job.
From at B Royal Blue Coug on Twitter, Washington, he says, was a very impressive offensive team, and BYU had some trouble keeping up with them. How's the confidence level of the defense heading into USU prep and Friday's game, and does it need to improve?
No, I think that we'll be fine. You know, I think as we go in today, and we talked about as coaches, the message to the players, and you know, sharing the blame as far as what happened there, and us as coaches maybe not putting them in position to make plays. You know, I think that when they know what they're doing and they're confident about it, we can play with anybody, and that'll be the message this week going to the boys is, hey, that last one was on us as coaches. Let's let's put this one back on you guys and let's roll. And I think that they'll like that message.
How different of a reset is this week maybe compared to the post-Cal week? Like what kind of things did you have to address that week that are maybe different from what you're going to be addressing with the guys this week?
It's same. It's missed opportunities, bad technique, missed tackles, things like that. When you're losing games or you're not playing as good defense as you think you should be playing, it always comes down to that. It's basically, somebody trying to do more than he should be doing. And just missed tackles, missed opportunities, and just guys not seeing things the way that they should be. And I think the corrections really all come down about that.
Okay, 30 seconds for you. A team's coming off a bye week, as Utah State is. How have you viewed that in your coaching career when you're facing a team that's had a rest?
It doesn't always pan out well, so it's I don't know what the numbers are as far as whether you come off a bye week and win or lose, but I've seen teams come off bye weeks and lose, and you always attribute it to them not playing enough football, during the time off. But I'm just going to treat it as if they're on a short week too. We're going to be ready to play. They're going to get our best shot, and our boys, I think, will be geeked up for this one, especially since we lost last year.
Good luck on Friday.
Thanks.
All right, that'll do it for the Coordinator's Corner. Next week, it is coaches Tuiaki and Grimes as we review the Utah State game and look ahead to Hawaii. Thanks to Jason Shepard, Michael Miner, and everyone at BYU TV. And from BYU Radio, Sean O'Neill, Terry South, Sean Fay, Sterling Richards, Lindsey Peterson, and Don Shaline. I'm Greg Wrubell. It's been the Coordinator's Corner. We'll talk to you next week at 1 o'clock Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain on BYU TV and radio. So long.